Hello, and welcome to Clamp, the Creating, Living, and Making podcast. I'm your host, Grant Alexander, and joining me today is Morley Kurt.
Hello.
And Adam Mackey.
Yeah!
All right, well, someone's really enthusiastic, so how about you tell me what's in your clamps this week, Adam?
Well, I'm building out a van for my personal trainer. He's hired me to build a lounge that converts into a bed.
Please tell me you're making a video out of it.
I am making a video out of it, and he's dropping the van off in just over an hour. And I'll be doing it today.
So does that mean we got to hurry up?
No, it's all good. Yeah,
That's
I've got like 6.5 hours to do it. It won't take me that long. It's essentially just like 3 boxes.
Famous last words.
Yeah, well, I said I'll at least, because he's going away for the weekend, otherwise he would have left it here. So I said I'll at least get it to where you can use it, and then if there's anything I need to do, I can like do it after. I can do it tomorrow or whatever.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's sweet.
Pretty
that's
pumped
really
to do that.
Yeah, it's. I saw
do a different style of video too.
Yeah, I saw your little Fusion 360 animation. That was really cool.
Yeah. I was all ready to tell you what I learned about doing joints and animation stuff, but then, like, as usual, when I pop in the Discord and you have a Fusion problem, you had already figured it out by the time I read it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, you got it. that is
animations are really cool in Fusion.
Yeah, they are. I've only really used it for one project. But you can do a lot. I have been, not to take away from you, but just real quick, I've been liking the drawings feature in Fusion. I don't know if you've ever done that, but creating like drawing sets from models, it's so cool.
Yeah, right. No idea. Never heard of it.
Can you explain that a little further? What a drawing set is?
So like, let's say you make a 3D model of a table. No, you need something more complicated. Let's say you make a 3D model of like a house, right? Full house, like something you like, Grant, you've done in SketchUp for your house. You create a drawing from that house, from the 3D model, and you can insert views, and it will create a top view, a side view. You can do section views and elevations like you would have it in an architectural or a mechanical and engineering drawing set. And it's all parametric. So when you
that's cool.
The design, it updates the drawings.
Right. That's cool.
And having made those drawings manually, I think that's why I love it so much. I was like, oh my God, I have to do zero work except for like adding dimensions and stuff. But that is,
and I'm sure you could even figure out a way to get it to do that for you.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Like the dimensioning is a bit of an art. So I think even if it did it automatically, you would have to do a lot of fixing because
it's never in the right spot. It's like you can't read the numbers and
exactly. And it's like, what makes sense to dimension in terms of how you're going to build it? Like, you don't really care about 2 holes in the middle, how far they are away from each other. You probably care how far they are away from like an edge. Right. Or like every hole from each other. Anyways, I digress. Fusion's awesome.
I completely get where you're coming from, because every time I do a model of anything, even if I just do a drawing, I dimension everything, because I'm never quite sure what I want at the time until I'm like actually making it. So yeah.
Yeah, it was something that was kind of beat into my head at engineering school, like don't over dimension, but if it's for yourself, it doesn't really matter.
It was definitely not beat into my head. But I think you might have done a lot more computer stuff than I did, maybe.
Fair.
Like we had the first version of AutoCAD. That was what I was using. So nice. I think in the 15 years between when I took engineering and you took engineering, things might have changed a bit.
Yeah.
So, well, Morley, why don't you just keep on going and tell us what's in your
Sorry, Adam,
plans?
did you have anything else? I kind of like stole your thunder there. I ever felt like I did.
All good.
All right. Well, you remember how 2 episodes ago I said I might be dropping 2 videos in a week?
Yes.
Well, I clearly did not do that. But last week I finally got out the tripod strap video collaboration with Ryan. As tends to happen with some things, it took a little longer than expected, but really happy with the final result. It was the first collaboration video I've ever done. So Ryan commissioned me to make him a leather strap to hold his tripod that he could take it hiking, other photography adventures. And then he lives in Gaspé, Quebec, which is on the east coast of Canada. It's really beautiful scenery, like right on the Atlantic Ocean. So he took all the finishing shots and videos of him using it, and then edited that together. And then we kind of like pieced everything together. And it was a lot of fun. He comes more from a filmography and short film background rather than a YouTuber. So like, I definitely learned some things from him in the process. Cause I cut down his stuff further, and he was like, yeah, you should let that shot linger a little longer. Like you don't want to cut right in the middle of a pan. It's very jarring. I was like, oh, I'd never really thought about that before. That's a great point. So definitely had some like takeaways from the collaboration, just because he comes from such a different perspective. And I can already feel in like the edit I'm doing now, the lessons learned from that.
It's also something that you kind of wish you knew ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so that you can, like, all those things, little things you learn really help you with the filming aspects of it too.
For sure.
Right?
You can only do so much in one project. And like, that's my perspective on my YouTube channel in general. It's like everyone is an incremental improvement. Although I'm right there with you. I frequently fall into like, oh, I wish I had known that all the videos before.
Right. So I've got a project that I started filming, I want to say like a year ago. And obviously I've changed what I do now. So we'll see how that one turns out. But it's like every time I go up and film, I'm like, I wish I had known how to do this before. But
yeah. It's
I've
always
noticed, like I've been thinking about that a lot lately, about like trying to leave clips longer and stuff, because I feel like I cut mine way too short. Like I jump between stuff, because like I always think like no one wants to watch me do this for 10 seconds, but then it just doesn't have the flow that it should have.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching, did you see Adam Savage's, he built a bench that looks like a shipping container?
Yeah, I watched that yesterday.
Yeah. And I was watching it, I'm like, he gets so many views, and like his videos are so raw. Like he hardly speeds up anything, hardly cuts anything out. Like it's crazy. But it's so interesting to watch.
I mean, I think I mentioned this before. Like part of I feel like the appeal of Adam Savage videos is really just like him in his shop is so inherently interesting, because you see it's like Jimmy DeResta. You see all of his experience coming through. He's surrounded by all these things that he's collected throughout his life.
right. See,
especially when you get people like my age and stuff that like grew up watching Mythbusters and all that sort of stuff, and sort of look up to Adam and just want to see what he's doing and all that sort of stuff. So he can get away with some stuff that people that no one knows and that like wouldn't be able to get away with.
If you even watch like Jimmy DeResta, he was talking about, it's all about the emotion. So he was talking about like an edit he was making, and he was like, if I fumbled with something and then had to, like he was putting like buttons on something or rivets on something, and he was like, I fumbled here and then I had to redo it, right? Yeah. And he's like, I cut all of that out, right? Because it's and when he shows the final project, it doesn't look like he cut much out. Like you'd have to be doing it at a quarter speed to see it. But it's all about making it so it flows nicely. And he said when he fumbles it and has to like reset the machine or whatever, he said the emotional, like, okay, you've broken your concentration, right? So it's all about keeping your concentration online. And that's where I found, like on my camping video, the lowest spots where I didn't have any music, and I didn't put any music in that video. And I did these time lapse, and the time lapse doesn't have any audio. And I didn't put any audio in there, and the two time lapses are where the very lowest points of my videos are.
Yeah.
And I went, it's because they've broken the emotional attachment with the video. They've gotten into this like, like nature and fun and like just like relaxing, and then there's nothing, no sound, no nothing, and it breaks the flow. So it's all about the flow, just like the panning shot. If you stop a pan in the middle, unless you fade it out, it's not going to look right.
I mean, what we're talking about, I feel, is like some of the biggest lessons I've learned in making however many videos I've made now, like 60 or something. Like it takes a lot of practice to get a feel for that pacing and like getting the confidence to let shots linger. And like, I'm feeling like only in the past few videos I've gotten comfortable with like cuts to black and taking my time in places where previously I'd be nervous that I'd lose someone's interest then. And then also on the other side is like being conscious of like, oh, I will lose someone's interest here. I have to make this faster. Like it's both of them. It's letting things linger and knowing when to get to the point, you know?
Right. Like if you just do jump cuts every time, that's a certain emotion you're going for. If you fade to black, that's trying to show a different thing, right? Like I fade to black to show time passing. If I'm showing a glue up at the end of the glue up, I often will fade to black to go. And now we wait till the next morning, kind of
like the sun setting.
Exactly. Like, oh, leave this overnight. Like that's what I'm trying to get across with something like that. So it's just interesting to hear those things. If you got any more tips from Ryan, I'm sure that we would both love to hear them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we want to do some movie discussion episodes for the podcast, so I'm sure on those we'll get tons of his insights, which are really we've had them before, just not recorded, and it's always really interesting.
You should do a full episode just on talking about that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will take that. So otherwise, though, more making wise, I got 2 new projects this week, both of which I'm like super excited about. I don't want to reveal too much. One of them is a 3D printing project, and it has to do with a video game that is very near and dear to my heart. And
Halo? Halo's appropriate time frame for you.
All I will say is it's very eerie that you say that. I'm very impressed.
You know why Ready Player One had Halo in it? It was to
get people like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. And Fortnite. And then it gets the people younger than me as well.
I thought Halo would be more my generation.
Halo got even bigger afterwards. So
yeah, like Halo 1 came out when I was probably like 8 or so. And then it started from there.
Yeah, Halo 1 came out when I was 16 or 17. And we'd come to my parents' house because we had a big screen TV. And we'd all play 4-person Halo. Because we had the biggest, like, big giant TV. And then it was like having 4 27-inch TVs. It was really cool.
Nice. Love Halo. Anyways,
I can talk about that for hours.
I'm amazed that you said that. We'll not say any more about that though. But it's a functional piece. It's not just a prop. And I got a journal commission that I think is going to be really, really cool. And I'm going to make a video about it, which I haven't really done in a little while. Like I did the little pocket notebook cover, but the only other journal cover video I've made was the one I made for Eden a few years ago, which is done very, very nice. Are you giving me a high five?
No, the hand.
Oh, yeah, the hand. Yeah. But this one's very different from that. Super different aesthetic. And
cool.
Just cut the pieces for it today. But other than that, me and Grant had a pretty sweet camping adventure last week, and he gave me his Mystery Maker collab project, which is sweet.
Yeah. So that is what I've been up to this week, is that I put out my Mystery Maker collab video. I'll let Morley say what it is.
Yeah, so it's a frame. I can't say it's just a frame because it's the flannel and a cherry frame with some maple splines to mount a carved and painted leather patch of a hedgehog, or an ouch mouse, as Grant likes to call it.
I've never heard of the term ouch mouse.
I hadn't either, but I love it.
Yeah.
Is a hedgehog and echidna, are they different? Or is that just you call them something else?
I don't know what that second word is that you just said.
Echidna.
Oh, that's one of those words I've only ever seen like in a biology textbook, but I've never heard anyone say before.
That's similar to a hedgehog. It's like it's a little like mouse looking thing that's covered in spikes.
It looks like they're the same family, but it's not the same animal.
Yeah, they're more like spiny anteaters. So their nose is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they look very similar. You're right.
Yeah.
I have never heard anyone say that word before either.
Yeah, all right.
Are they in Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Anyways, Grant, I really like the video, and I especially love the part where you narrate the hedgehog, like here, the ouch mouse goes for a nice place to sleep. That was really, that was great.
Thanks. I tried doing an accent. I tried a couple different accents, and then I just went with my own voice because none of the accents were what I was trying. I tried to do like an English accent. It came out Scottish, and then I tried to do something else, and I won't even comment on what that one was. And then I went, I'll just use my own voice because it's predictable. But yeah, everyone should go check that video out. It needs some more views. And the other thing is, obviously, like Morley said, we went canoe camping. And I did leatherworking for the first time. And that was the super exciting thing. And that the fun part was like getting out in the wilderness and still being able to make. And what we wanted to talk about this week was canoeing and how that all relates to creating, living, and making. And that's my really poor segue. Normally, I'm way better at segues. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, calling attention to it, you made it a little more forced.
Yeah.
Which he told us not to do before we started recording, just for anyone listening.
So, canoeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like, there's two different types of canoeing. There's like canoe camping, and there's like just like going out in a canoe for a day trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are two different types of canoeing, but they're both like really fun, obviously. But what we did was canoe camping. And so me and Morley, we met for the very first time, which was like kind of odd. And then we both hopped into a
It didn't really feel that odd to me. I feel like I was like, oh, it's Grant. And now in person, not on the screen.
Right. It didn't feel odd to me either, but it felt, everyone who I've mentioned it to said that's odd. So I went, well,
It would have been a lot more odd if he had shaved beforehand, I reckon.
Oh, I wouldn't have recognized him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have recognized myself either.
For those that don't know, we're currently looking at a shaved Grant.
Yeah. That's the other thing I did last week is I shaved my beard. I guess I should have mentioned that before trying to make a poorly timed segue. Thank you for everyone who supported me. I raised $1,100 or over $1,100.
Wow.
So that's great. My goal was 1,000, so I got more than my goal. The charity raised 138,000, I think. So it's really great. And so thank you, everyone. And now, so not in the next couple of videos, but maybe one in like a month or so, you might get to see shaved Grant.
So did you just start filming like today again?
No,
I haven't filmed anything since I shaved. So
okay, so you might have a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow by the time you start.
Yeah, I like that you did the live stream and then like the next day or the day after you put out a video and you got full beard again. People will be like, "What the?"
Yeah. Yeah. So the hardest part is like this video that I'm working on for the thing that the leatherworking I did on the canoe camping. I want to do a fun little thing that I want to do some little bit of acting beyond what we had filmed, and now I don't have a beard, so we'll see how I can figure out.
I thought it was just me that was going to be acting. I didn't know you were also going to be acting.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get Morley to act, and I'm gonna act too. Because it's gotta like cut to me because I'm the weary traveler adventurer that's looking to learn a new skill. So I wanna be in the video, but we'll see if it works or not. If I can figure out a way to make it so that you can't see my face.
We must have like a shot of you walking through the woods at one point. We don't?
I can, but even
I
so.
was gonna say, would it be hard to go get some shots? Set up a tripod and walk through.
It's just the beard.
Oh, the beard. Right.
Actually, it'd be funny if you put on a really obviously fake beard, like felt.
Nice, yes.
Like people that listen to the podcast know.
Yeah.
I actually think you should do that. I think that'd be hilarious. And like, when you watch like a documentary and they have like, this is a reenactment in bold, and it's so obvious that it is.
So I might do that, or I might just like cover my face. Somehow.
I think you should do that. It'd be hilarious.
We'll see.
Or just wear a mask, like a pull-up balaclava mask sort of style thing. People won't know.
Yeah. So I'm going to pretend to be like some sort of
COVID safe.
medieval times or World of Warcraft sort of time adventurer. So I can put on a costume.
Nice.
And yeah. But canoeing. It was probably like the most peaceful time I've ever had in a canoe. I'll say that. At some points on the water, it was just like awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Morley, go tell us more.
No, I
Talk about maybe
agree.
what you did out there.
And I was saying that when we were fishing, because like we weren't having much luck fishing on the water, but being in a boat on the water, like around 5-6 p.m. as the sun's starting to get low in the sky, is so nice. And I was telling Grant, like that's something I used to do when I was working in the Rockies, is because like the lodge was right in a lake. We had like rowboats and canoes and stuff. So sometimes after work, I would just take the rowboat on the lake. I was trying to catch these cutthroat trout all summer. Apparently the lake is full of them and I would see them jumping all the time, but I could not for the life of me catch a single one of these trout. They're so picky. But it was so nice just to like, I would paddle out to the middle. I would open my book of knots and like try to like tie on some flies and just drift around the lake for a while. I mean, there's no other boats out there. Like the lodge is the only thing on this mountain lake. And it's a similar thing like when we were in Algonquin, just you're alone out there. Part of it is like you have nowhere to be.
Right.
If you're doing the fishing. I mean, if you're paddling, obviously you have somewhere to be, but
I remember
it's so quiet, you know.
Yeah,
Sorry,
my wife and I went on a trip once, like 10 hours north, and like we were just carefree for a whole week. Didn't care about bills, money, like nothing. Just completely carefree. Weren't worried about getting home, and it was the best trip I've ever been on.
Yeah,
because it was just no stress, nothing. It was amazing.
That's one of the things I love about camping too. Is like your world gets shrunken down. Like you're just assuming you're not trying to survive, like that you've packed food. You're just trying to figure out like, how do I set up the best camp? You have all these little considerations that you don't normally have in day-to-day life. And it's all about like having this really nice cohesive experience with nature. And you don't have like the anxieties of modern life. You know, like people say like first world problems breed depression. People in like very poor, hard circumstances aren't usually, there's not as much depression in those areas. Part of that may be because they're living so close to like the bone. You know, it's like when you're camping, you're so viscerally involved in all of your day-to-day things.
Yeah. Because you're like, you want to make a fire. Well, now you have to go out and find some wood, and you have to, you know, we played around with like making fire with a fire stick or fire steel.
Successfully, I would say.
Successfully. It's the second time I've ever done it successfully, so I was very happy. But it was definitely something that, you know, it's like in the real world, you just turn on your stove and boom, you're good, right? Like, you have so much more time in the real world.
Well, it's funny, like to relate it to making as well is like, I find like doing the dishes and some sorts of like menial making tasks very relaxing in a similar way.
You enjoy doing
like,
dishes?
Yeah, I do. Like it's really satisfying. It's a nice break, I find, from like a lot of the really heady stuff I'm doing during the day, especially like designing or editing videos where I'm making like so many decisions that seem really, really important. But then I can like duck off and like, you know, like you're making progress through something. You have a definitive end. It's better than how you left it. Obviously, I'm sure I'm not always going to feel that way, but for now, it's a nice break.
I was going to say, this is what it feels like not to have kids. You get excited to do dishes.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it too.
I'm like, get the dishes done so I can just sit on the lounge and relax.
Right. I have the time and the space to kind of like enjoy it. I don't even know if I would say enjoy, but it's a nice relaxation.
And that comes back to the whole like while we were canoe camping, we didn't plan a strenuous trip where we're doing 8 hours a day canoeing into like remote, like it was remote-ish, but it wasn't the most remote place in the world, but it was we just kind of, we had a lot of time set aside for whatever we needed to do. And by having that extra time allowed you the time to actually enjoy making a fire, right? Enjoy, whatever it was that we were doing. Going out and fishing for an hour didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right? It was, you just go and do it. And, it would be different if, like you said, if we were trying to catch fish for dinner and we didn't have dinner.
Yeah.
I think our attitudes would have been a little bit different.
Yeah. I mean, on the other side of that too, like not the relaxing side of camping, but like those situations do happen. Like you want to catch fish to eat. Camping is very stressful when it's raining and you're trying to get your tent set up. I've had that happen a handful of times. With Eden as well, like with my girlfriend. And that is a relationship testing experience, I will tell you, but we came out stronger from it. And it helped me be a better maker. It's like, it gives you an experience of like, there are real stakes here. Like if you don't get your tent up, if you don't get things in your tent, it will be wet for the weekend and you will be very uncomfortable and you might get hypothermia. And I find that applies really, sorry, I just like dumped my mic. That applies really, really well to making in the same way, where it's like, sometimes a project really seems to be going south. And, I don't know. It's like I've talked about before, those kind of gumption building experiences. Like with Ethan, I was talking about Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. He talks a lot about those, where it's like, I'm just thinking of like a really tricky glue up where it's like, I don't think I have enough clamps here, but like, I got to get this thing together and I can't get any more clamps right now. So like we got to figure it out. It's got to go together and this glue's drying. So we got to hurry up a little bit. And I think those trying camping experiences kind of work out those muscles.
And even if you fail, like we might have at fishing, you still learn something from the experience. Like I failed at gluing something up because I didn't have enough clamps. I totally didn't have enough, and I went, I was trying to glue up a kind of chaotic pattern to make coasters and like end grain coasters. So I didn't have enough clamps, and in the end, when I took it apart and took all the clamps off that I did put on it, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. There was gaps everywhere. I learned a valuable lesson that F clamps are the best clamps, and bar clamps don't work in their stead. If I had more quick clamps,
what was the problem with bar clamps in that situation? Just out of curiosity,
they couldn't reach far enough. I needed to reach around things. Just the way that I
like the throat depth.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have any throat depth, and you couldn't screw them in further, and then they were longer. Anyways, I couldn't reach where I needed to reach, both like in depth and also like in like like an F clamp has that like part that looks like a G going up.
Yes,
a stem coming up. Yeah, it needed to go just over a little bit, and anyways. Bar clamps just didn't quite work. But that's the kind of thing that you learn from those lessons. Like maybe you can tell the story all about how I caught the only fish on the trip.
I feel so bad about this. And again, I'm sorry. So Grant and I, as we mentioned, we were fishing throughout the trip. Weren't having much luck. And then our second night, because we went for 2 nights, we were at our second camping spot. I was working on my project on the shore while Grant was fishing. I was filming the project, and I hear Grant yell, "I think I got one," which I was like, "Oh, heck yeah." And I was already filming, so I just turned my camera, ran over to Grant, and he had this beautiful brook trout. I mean, it was probably a foot long, I would say, easily.
Yeah. We have a picture, so...
Yeah.
And we have video too, so we could probably figure out the exact dimensions, but it was a good sized trout.
Yeah. So I think you had got one nibble right before that, and then your next cast you got it. Just like right from this rock on the shore. And you hear Grant in the video. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and I was using, of all things, a red devil, I wasn't trying to fish for trout, so.
Oh, okay. What does the red devil lure look like?
The little red spoon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The red and white spoon.
So you can hear Grant in the video. Like I run down, Grant's lifting the line out of the water, and I'm like grabbing at the fish because we didn't have a net. Grant's like, "Oh, let's get him up on shore." And I was like, "No, I'll take him off the hook right here." So I lift it out of the water, and I feel so bad. I grab the fish. I have my pliers out. The fish starts like flapping wildly. So you like my kind of strategy when that happens, and maybe this is wrong, but I usually let go and thinking like I'll let him tire himself out and then grab again. But I should have just grabbed on tighter because the fish promptly flopped itself right off the hook, fell into the water. Me and Grant just froze. We said afterwards, like I probably could have just reached into the water and grabbed it again, but I think we were all just like, did that just happen?
Right. All three of us, Dick, Morley, me, and the fish, all of us just were in shock.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm figuring out a good way to incorporate that scene into my video because I think it should be highlighted.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it'll make it in my first video. I'm going to make 2 videos of the camping trip. One will be the project, and the other one will be just the trip in general. But yeah, it's a I don't know. It was a fun moment.
We were saying like it would have been nice to have a fish. Like we had plenty of food. We didn't need the fish to eat. It would have been kind of nice to have that experience. But like I haven't gut a fish in a while. I wasn't really looking forward to killing and gutting a fish when you're camping. I'm not super practiced at it. I have done it, but it's messy if you're not really practiced.
But like that's.
But I wish that you at least were able to hold it up and take a picture with it. Like
yeah. I'm okay with it. We got a good fit, like because you were filming. Luckily, you were filming, so we got a picture of it. We got a picture of it, and it's actually like I took a screen grab from one of the frames of the video. It's actually, I think, a really good picture, kind of showing like you got it in your hands.
It is really cool.
It's a really cool scene. Yeah, it's like obviously not the best picture of a fish, but it's a cool picture of 2 friends fishing.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, it would have been nice to have it because I've never got a fish before, and I wanted to kind of be part of that process. And just because it's like a life skill, I think everyone should know is how to take a thing and turn it into food. But next time,
I always throw them back.
Yeah, I usually do too, but
they're too icky.
Well, you haven't had trout, have you?
No.
Yeah.
I see people like catch catfish and stuff like on YouTube, and I'm just like, that is just no thanks.
Fun fact: trout and salmon are basically the same fish. A salmon is just a type of trout. They're actually the same species.
I don't like fish.
But
we talked about this before, actually.
But you eat shark.
I eat shark.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that, and then we didn't believe that Adam actually likes shark, and then we realized that fish are different in North America and Australia.
Yeah.
So one thing that I kind of wanted to mention too is like having a continuous project to work on throughout those 2 days is such an awesome experience. And I've done that before on like camping trips or hiking where it's like it's not usually like as I'm not going to reveal exactly what the project is yet, but it's not really something that's that nice and refined. Usually it's like, I'm just thinking back to when I was really young and I was like, I'm going to try to chip this rock to form an arrowhead.
Right.
And you kind of like are carrying that rock with you throughout the trip and you get really attached to it and it's something to do in downtime. It's a really nice thing to kind of mix into the experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of like a little thread that comes through the whole thing that kind of puts a nice little.
Is that a hint?
I don't know. We didn't use any thread. Yeah. But it was just like it's nice to have something to work towards at the same time as you're, kind of on vacation. Because that's what it was for me. I took the week off work because why not? But yeah, it was. It's just nice to have something to do that's outside of the like. You don't need this to survive. Clearly, we're already surviving. So it's just something to like some little project to make your time more meaningful. Your downtime, right?
for sure.
What was it? What was it like in the? Would you went to national park, right?
Yeah.
Provincial park, yeah.
Yeah. So was it busy? Was there many people around and stuff, or?
So the week that we went midweek on the shoulder season is what it's called, because it's like the up till September. Once it gets September, it's the kind of off season. So we went midweek in the off season, and it was pretty much dead. Like when we saw like 2 or 3 people on the first 2 days. On the way out, it was Friday, and it was packed.
It was just like a continuous. We didn't even have to look at the map going back. We would just follow the canoes coming the other way.
Right, that's pretty much how it was. It was insane how many more people were there for the weekend, because it was also like a really nice, like the weather was unseasonably nice. So I think it was just one of those, like, everyone saw the weather and went, I'm going, right? And we didn't go very far, so we're at like one of the closer spots to make sure that my first canoe camp trip didn't end up in tears.
Did you have to carry your canoes much, or was it just like once you get down to the water, then you just canoe wherever you're going?
So I'll let Morley take this, because he was the one carrying the canoe.
So we had one portage, which is called.
Oh, you have one canoe.
We had one
I thought you
canoe.
had a canoe each.
No, we were sharing a canoe with all our stuff in it, and we had one portage, which is when you take the canoe out of the water and you have to walk it over land. So I had done this once before, the last time I went to the park, with a big, heavy aluminum canoe. Basically, you flip it upside down, put it on your shoulders, and walk with it. And Grant's canoe is a nice, light fiberglass canoe, which was a much better experience to portage.
And it's really funny. He calls
fiberglass weighs less than aluminum.
Yeah, for sure.
Aluminium.
Yeah, it's about 20 pounds less. And it's funny because he talks about my canoe as being light. And when my dad bought it 40 years ago, it was. Nowadays, it's considered heavy. It's about 65 pounds. And nowadays, for a canoe the same size, it would be about 45 pounds.
Like, I was definitely feeling it.
What's that, like 5 kilos?
I don't know. I don't know what kilos are.
Just divide it by like 2.2.
2.2.
Yeah.
It's about half.
Like, I was feeling it by the end of the portage, especially because it was like mostly uphill. Like I was breathing heavy. But the last one that I did, like, I could feel my spine collapsing because I also had my pack on. This one wasn't so dramatic.
Yeah. Well, and it was only 240 meter portage.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk in meters about distance and pounds about weight. We're screwed up in Canada.
You guys don't know what you are.
That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But like just that little extra bit of separation you have from society with that portage, that's one of the things I love about canoe camping is like you get to the other side and you feel like you're so much further away than the 200 meters back where you started. Then I really start like I'm feeling like a fur trapper going through the Canadian wilderness. Right. And it's so adventurous feeling, especially since you have all your stuff with you, you know?
Yeah, and that's why I love watching the like Ted Baird and My Self-Reliance and those people. Like I watch those videos and I go, like they do some crazy trips, and it's exactly like that. Like they're fur trappers. It's crazy. Like,
oh my god. Okay, so quick aside, this isn't my Clampmendation because I was told I'm not allowed to make it. I wasn't going to do it anyway. But Al's Hack Shack, his video on the table.
Yes.
I don't know about you guys, but that gave me such a primitive technology, My Self-Reliance vibe, because like he just made something almost inconceivable in terms of his tool set in space. And like it was cutting from like hours of work apart each cut. It just really reminded me of those.
Yeah. And I loved hearing how he talked about how there was like 32 different segments or 42 different segments in his video. And he talked about like, he really talked about the flow of making a video to bring it back to what we talked about earlier is like, he did the router thing. He did one pass of the router and then it's done because it's the exact same thing for the other 15 meters or however long that table is. Right.
Yeah. Right? Which so actually, it's funny. I think if he had shown any more of the routering, I wouldn't have watched it because at that point in the video, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, this project looks like so much work. And it was making me like almost uncomfortable to watch, thinking of how much work he had ahead of him. But the fact that he didn't show all those steps, I was like, oh, now I'm still interested because there's more to it than this.
And that's how you make a good video. And that's what I try and do with mine. Like sometimes I do like my sanding is 1 second. It's literally and I sand it, whoop, and that's it. Like it's just like enough to show I did it, and otherwise no one cares, right?
Yeah.
I tried in when I built the mic stand that I'm recording from to like get a shot of the silhouette of the piece with the window behind it so I could like get the dust shadow. It didn't really work, but it made for like a much, I think, more interesting inclusion of sanding in the video than if I had just filmed me sanding.
Right. So that's yeah.
I like the idea of like go from like a sanding shot and then fade into applying finish or something, just to show that you've sanded before you've applied finish. Yeah.
Well, to shift gears back to canoeing, I watched Bob's video this week. I like to make stuff, and it's interesting talking about portaging. Is that he made something to move his canoe on the ground. Just some wheels that fold up and like can go in his thing, and it's a big, heavy aluminum canoe. So I watched the video, and the first thing I went to the comments to find how. Like I must have watched it within the first 30 minutes it was out, and I wanted to try and find the first comment where someone said, "Why don't you just put it on your back?" And that literally in the first 30 minutes there was already 2 people saying it. And there was one person who actually said, aluminum is the lightest thing you can make canoes out of. And I went,
wow, that is so not true.
No, I know it's not. So, and then I kind of had a little comment.
Are you sure they didn't mean that aluminium is the lightest you can make a canoe out of?
No, they said aluminum because they spelled it correctly. So,
do you spell it different?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Anyway. Aluminium and aluminum are spelled differently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, anyways, regardless of that, we had a little comment battle, and he later realized that he had said it is the lightest, and he went and edited his comment because he would realize that it is lighter than wood. Like that's about it.
It's one of the lightest,
but not even close. It's a fiberglass, carbon fiber, Kevlar. Wood with fiberglass, wood with carbon fiber. There's like a million ways to make a way lighter canoe than
birch bark. Probably a dugout canoe would be heavier.
Right.
So I didn't realize it until you were saying about how you guys did your trip that because I thought like that would have been great for you guys, like Bob's video, but it wouldn't have because you put your stuff in the canoe when you moved.
Right.
And the canoe has to be upside down. So I wonder if you could make one that would go the other way.
So when we actually portage, we put all the stuff on our backs. So we have backpacks. So when you do the portage...
But if you had one the other way, then you wouldn't have to carry stuff on your backs.
Right. So there's people... You still would because there's like the canoe can't take the weight outside of the water.
Right.
Right? Because like you need the load dispersed across... The way that
it would
works.
It would also have to be a very off-road capable rig because we were like it was like a pretty steep hike to get to the next spot.
Well, his looks pretty off-road.
Yeah,
I liked the idea of like just being able to put the strap over your shoulder and just walk away like it's a bag.
That's cool.
We actually saw a kayaker, and the way you do a kayak is something similar. You have wheels, but what they do is they do the wheels on one of the bow or the stern or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's what Bob talked about in this video. But then he ended up going the middle. But when you're doing that with a kayak, it is so much harder. Mm. Like doing these portages, they're not made. They're made to like they're hikes. There's like pretty steep hills, a lot of them. So if you don't have it on your back, you can't make it.
Is plastic lighter than fiberglass?
No.
Can you buy plastic canoes?
Yes.
Yeah, because kayaks are more popular here in Australia. People use them for fishing and stuff. Canoes, you would have to go searching for. I mean, I've grown up with canoes. I used to do camping like in the school holidays, and we always had canoes and all that sort of stuff, and used to lay in the water underneath them and think we were cool because we could breathe.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so like kayaks here are a lot more like they're pretty much everywhere. Everyone's got them. I bought my wife one a couple of years ago for Christmas, and we had it chained to a tree down by the water because we live like 10 meters away from the water. And then about 20 meters along the path where the water is, there's a holiday park. So someone decided when they were leaving that they would go cut the chain and take our kayak. So that was like $600 down the drain.
Sucks.
Pretty annoying. But yeah, so kayaks are a lot more like sought after here.
Yeah. Well, like kayaks are great if you're not portaging. If you're not portaging, a kayak is the way to go.
It's also great for the ocean. Like, you don't really want to canoe in the ocean.
Yeah, unless it's an ocean canoe, which most of them aren't.
I don't even know what that looks like.
So the kayak's like more stable or something?
Yeah, because you generally sit on the bottom of a kayak, and they're narrower, and so you like can paddle from both sides. In a canoe, you sit on a seat or you kneel. But
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. It didn't even occur to me that canoes have seats.
Yeah.
Because I thought you would just sit in the bottom of it.
No.
Because so a kayak, you're actually sitting on the top of it, not on the bottom of it.
No, in the bottom. I mean, it depends. Well, it depends on the type of kayak.
Yeah.
There's like the open top kind and the enclosed kind.
I thought open top kind meant it was a canoe.
So the ones that you sit on top are like the new style kayaks, and they're more like just for like out and about, and not really for like far distances. And the old like traditional style kayaks, you would sit inside, and at most you would strap some gear on the top. Like kayaks, kayaks
so like
have
our like fishing kayaks, you sit on top, but then there's like storage inside.
Right. Yeah. The fishing kayaks are a little bit different. They're kind of cool, and there's even some fishing kayaks that like you can like steer and stuff from the top with your feet and
you have your feet. Yeah.
Anyway, there's some really cool. If you want to check out a way of like a simple way of making a canoe or a kayak trailer, Kelly Concepts on YouTube makes one. And he's got like, I don't know, 300,000 views on his little video about making a kayak trailer. So you should go check that out. But we're talking about canoes because they're a bit better in some ways. But I actually thought the way that like, so the Morley was obviously easily able to carry the canoe on his back. I am not as strong as Morley. I cannot do it. I've tried.
So to answer the question of who would win in a fight,
I already said everyone's like everyone of both of you guys are stronger than me, guaranteed. So maybe I need something
for deadlift. So
maybe I need something like what Bob made.
Yeah.
So I think if you do make one, you should. Have you ever seen like people have those wheelie? I don't know what they're called. Basically, like if they're shopping for groceries in the city, they have those like push carts that you put all your groceries in and then they wheel them back.
A shopping cart?
Yep.
Yeah, but it's like more personal. Anyway, some of them have 3 wheels arranged around a center axle that like climb upstairs.
Yes.
If you made one of the canoe wheel attachments with that would be awesome. And then you could take it on
That'd
a
be pretty cool.
I like it. Maybe one day.
That's pretty cool.
One day. Well,
since you keep talking about what your Clampmendations aren't, how about you talk about what they are?
Oh, that was just about what I was almost exactly going to say. So, Adam.
Stole your thunder.
Yeah, how about you take it away?
All right. So my Clampmendation this week is a show on, I don't know.
Netflix.
No, it's not on Netflix because it's not the Asian one.
Oh.
So it's a show called Kingdom. It's about MMA fighting, and it has some who I think are cool actors. But I was talking to my mate who has been watching the show and has no idea who they are. But it has Jonathan Tucker, Matt Lauria, and Nick Jonas. Well, you know who Nick Jonas is probably. and Frank Grillo are like the 4 main ones that I recognize that I like. But so what it is, it's a show about MMA, about a guy that gets out of jail. He was a retired MMA fighter. The main guy is a retired MMA fighter who owns a gym, and then he's like trying to mix life with running the gym and then trying to keep his family and shit together. And didn't mean to swear there. And yeah,
Make sure to point
and
out.
then,
All the
yeah. And there was a MMA fighter that came out of jail, and then he's like trying to get him back into it and all that sort of stuff. It's a really good show.
Cool.
And whenever I watch it, it makes me want to like eat healthy and be buff as, because those dudes are insane.
I'm always like amazed when I'm watching something. I go, man, I really wish I could do that. Like American Ninja Warrior, right? Like, I just want to climb. There's like a wall at my gym when I was in high school that was like the peg wall, where like there's pegs going up a wall. That's my only goal in my entire life. One day I'd like to do that. I've never been able to do it. So
we've got 20 minutes away from us. There's a school called Central Coast Obstacle Racing School, and it's 2 people. Yeah, 2 people that were on Australian Ninja Warrior. They have this, and they do classes. So my son, who's 4 years old, he goes and does classes once a week.
Cool.
And trains for Ninja Warrior and stuff. It's so cool.
That's awesome. Back in my parkour days, I would be chomping at the bit to go to that.
Yeah, and they do, like, they go all the way up to adults and everything. Like, I think if I ever get fit enough for it and I can actually do monkey bars and stuff, I'll probably end up going there. Yeah. But yeah, it's such a cool thing.
Wow. That's cool.
A lot of I was going to say, like, a lot of the girls that go to my gym are like dancers and stuff, and like you watch their videos and I just think, like, you literally just did like a push up into like a burpee flip thing. Like, I can't even do a burpee.
Yeah, dancers are crazy strong. Like,
it's
every time I work,
crazy.
Like, Eden's a dancer. She like trained in ballet and was in a modern dance company at university. And every time I work out with her, I'm just like, wow, you are killing me in these ab exercises.
Yeah, you can tell who the dancers are at the gym because like they're just so flexible and all that sort of stuff. Like, there's a chick in my gym who does a burpee and like almost knees herself in the chest every time. Like, how do you even bend that far?
That's crazy. Well, I'm going to go next. I'm going to talk about the history of pocket screws. That's my Clampmendation. So there's a YouTuber that I watch. His name is Don. He's WB Woodworking, or I believe, let me just... WB Fine Woodworking with Don Bullock. And he did a fun, history compilation of pocket holes, which he's done 2 videos on it. And the one that I'm recommending is the more recent video, which talks about the further history beyond the Craig jig. So everyone thinks pocket holes started with the Craig jig, and they didn't. And I know this because I have furniture that my dad made in his high school class that has pocket holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Craig jig didn't exist when my dad was in high school, so pocket holes have existed for a lot longer. Anyways, he talks a lot about pocket holes, and it's a pretty comprehensive history of it, and I think it's a really good video that people should check out. Don's nearing 1,000 subscribers, so everyone should go subscribe to him as well. He's he's got a little fun. He likes to do little fun animations and stuff in his videos, and Anyways, I think it's a worthwhile. It's a longer video. It's like 20 minutes long, but if you cared anything about pocket holes and wanted to know where they've been used outside of the Craig jig world, I think it's a pretty good video.
Yeah. If you pull like an old lounge or something apart, they're just full of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pocket holes have been around and people always knock them. I'm like, they've been around for so long and never had issues. That this van build I'm about to do, I'm about to use like 100 pocket holes.
Right. Well, there's the big thing is like people compare there's a lot of people think about pocket holes and they think about cheap furniture, because a lot of times cheap like chipboard furniture, or what is that? I don't know what it's called beyond chipboard, but
MDF.
OSB, that kind of that, or MDF, both those things. They when they have pocket holes in them, they don't have the strength to keep the pocket hole, so it just rips away.
And
the problem isn't the pocket hole. The problem is the material.
Exactly.
The distinction also isn't even pocket holes are in cheap furniture. They're just in largely mass-produced furniture, some of which is not cheap at all. Like, I have this really nice mid-century modern chair that a friend gave me that I fixed, and it's held together with pocket holes, but it's walnut. It's beautiful. It's lasted 60, 70 years. It'll probably last 60, 70 more.
Right. Anyways, watch the video and you'll hear all about how long they've been around and all the different types of furniture that people have been using in different styles. Nice. It's really good.
All right.
So what about you, Morley? What's your Clampmendation for the week?
My Clampmendation this week was an easy choice. It is Jimmy DiResta's boot knife. I was following the build on his Instagram when he was in like the prototyping and in the making stage. And I watched the full video a few days ago. And it's everything I love about Jimmy DiResta and his videos is in that one video. Like he has the product development, the prototyping, machining brass, carving leather, stacked leather on a bandsaw in just like an mind-blowing, incredible way.
That's insane.
And the finish is beautiful. Like, it's just so inspirational. Like, I
wanted to say about his video as well. And like, I don't think Jimmy's going to listen to this. So I do mean no offense though. How we were talking before about how like leaving clips for so long and that. How many times does he want to show putting the knife into the holder and stuff? I'm just
at the end, yeah.
There's like 20 clips of just like taking the knife in and out. And
honestly though, like if it's so satisfying that like I totally understand why he wanted to do that. He's like, I'm just milking this because I love it.
Yeah.
But it is funny, at the end of the video, 90% of people are tuned out anyways.
They're already clicked off.
So the people that you have left there are staying around to the end. So he knows that. Yeah. Right? He knows you've already lost 90% by the last minute of your video or last 30 seconds of your video.
Mm-hmm. He does it in the middle of the video as well, though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I just thought it was funny. That's a Jimmy thing to do, though.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it. Like, people that know Jimmy get it.
And the fact that he made the knife itself from like an old spring.
Yeah.
Like from a car. It's just like, I saw the beginning. I was like, no way you're making the knife. When he took it out of the bin, I was like, no way you're making the knife out of it. And then he starts cutting it and bending. I was like, oh, guess you are. That's insane.
Yeah.
I was devastated that he actually like straightened the piece of spring out and all that. I thought he was going to squish it together and have like a
patent.
What's that?
Damascus.
Yeah. What's that? Damascus. Yeah, like sort of like Damascus, but like a little bit different. But yeah, I thought it would have looked really cool if you did that.
Yeah, Damascus, you're gonna have different steels.
2 different steels. Yeah.
So.
I suppose if you did it with just the piece of spring, it would just all mold into one. You wouldn't be able to tell.
Exactly. And you'd have to be really, really good at forge welding. Which, that's the way you get it. Anyways.
I've watched enough Alex Steele videos to know.
I've never watched an Alex Steele video. Ever. Oh. I've watched enough blacksmithing videos, though, without having done any blacksmithing to know that Damascus is very difficult. And it's also not Damascus. Because that's...
Okay.
Yeah. So, I want to give a big shout out to Leroy from Big Rock Timber Works down in the Down Under for being our...
I was in his area.
Oh.
2 days ago.
Did you stop by and grab some walnut cutoffs?
No. I was in a bit of a rush, but I went out to get plywood.
And he's our F Clamp level shout out, or Patreon on Patreon. And if you want to be shouted out in a video, go on to Patreon and make sure to subscribe. And another thing that we mentioned last week, I'm going to mention again, is that we have keychains for every single patron that signs up for Patreon. They're made by Morley. They're 3D print, clamped, stamped, dyed, everything. And then hand numbered all. So the number is gonna represent when what number you were in our patron list. So, for example, Leroy was our very first patron, and therefore he's getting number 1 keychain. And they'll be going out.
Morley's holding one up so everyone listening can see it.
Yeah, can you see this? Listener? Here, I'll make noises with it in front of the microphone. That's it.
So yeah,
if you do want to see it, go have a look at our Instagram pages.
Yes. And even if you don't like it as a keychain, they're also really great as like a luggage tag to differentiate your luggage or anything fun like that. And now the most fun part of our podcast is the Morley doing accents.
All right, what do we got?
And we got a review, so read it out, Morley.
All right. This one says, Grant is an amazing host. The other guys are pretty cool too, I guess. 5 stars. I heard about this podcast from some Aussie bloke that said, hey, want to make a podcast? While there was a bit of a rough start, please don't listen to the first episode, I feel like it's much more professional podcast type thingamajig these days. But don't quote me on that. Every week they get together and chat about topics that I enjoy, and that's what really matters, right? And every once in a while they even have a cool guest. What are you doing reading this? Go listen. Please read this review while doing an impression of the best host of Clamp, which is myself, of course. So I got my own voice.
Yeah, I told you he was going to say that.
And that one is from possibly one of the hosts via Apple Podcasts.
So mixing the review and the Patreon together, there is in the after show last week a little secret about one of the reviews from last week. And if you want to find out what that is, go listen to the after show.
All right. And if you can't support us through Patreon, which I completely understand, the best thing you can do to support us is share the show. Yeah. And or write a review and give us 5 stars is best, 4 stars little less, 3 stars acceptable, 2 stars. Please tell us why it's 2 stars. I would really appreciate that. And 1 star, please just don't leave a 1-star review. Anyways, or do it, and if it's honest, we'll take that feedback.
I want the 1-star reviews because it tells people that not all of the reviews are just shills. It's we got some real controversy.
They're not paid for.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm okay with a 4-star review, right?
Yeah.
And if for some reason you can't leave a review, just message one of us on Instagram or message the Clamp Instagram.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say is I want to thank TF Turning for the use of the theme song. It was wrote and recorded by him. And before that, any other business? Anyone?
Nothing from me.
Nothing from me.
So I just want to mention that sadly, the world lost a great maker. Figments Made, Sharon. We found out about it this week. It's I wanted to mention at the end of the episode so that I would not cry throughout the rest of the episode. She was a great person, and I never got the chance to meet her. She was one of those people, though, that I really felt like one day I would, because she seemed to be everywhere all the time and always supportive of everyone. So it's a very sad day or sad week, and that's what I wanted to say. So
I never had the pleasure.
Yeah. So if you guys, go watch her videos, because I definitely think she was one of the few people that when a video came out, I always watched it immediately when I saw it. She was one of those people. So anyways, very sad.
We'll put a link to her YouTube in the show notes.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyways, so on that sad note, where can everyone find everyone? I'm just going to go for it. You can find me at the Grant Alexander everywhere. You can find Morley Kurt at Morley Kurt everywhere. You can find Adam at Maker Mackie everywhere. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
See ya.
Kind kind of make it flow into it, not just be like, and Grant, what did you do this week? But then use that as transition.
That's how a good segue is. You don't mention it at all.
Nice.
You don't say, and now to segue